Speculation about Chinese President Xi Jinping being placed under house arrest has taken over social media. Rumors are doing the rounds on social media that Xi has been removed as the chief of China's People's Liberation Army, PLA, and China's capital, Beijing, is currently under the army's control. This comes a day after a former top security official was sentenced to life in prison by the Chinese court. He was believed to be part of anti-Xi political clique. Another 2 people associated with the group were similarly given suspended death sentences, and 3 others received lengthy prison terms this week. Meanwhile, other rumors circulating on the internet include Li Qiaoming, the general serving for the Chinese PLA, has replaced Xi Jinping as China's ruler. However, there is no official confirmation from the Chinese Communist Party or the state media about these rumors. Welcome to Savvy Economist. Today we would be diving into the rumors and speculation going around the internet about the alleged coup in China and the placing of China's President Xi Jinping under house arrest. As we go to uncover the facts and fallacies, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe and turn on notifications. A Chinese human rights activist, Jennifer Zeng, who is now residing in the US, shared a video on Twitter and claimed the PLA was moving toward Beijing. Zeng's tweet reads, #PLA military vehicles heading to #Beijing on September 22nd. Starting from Huanlai County near Beijing and ending in Zhangjiakou City, Hebei Province, entire procession as long as 80 kilometers. Meanwhile, rumor has it that Xi Jinping was under arrest after #CCP seniors removed him as head of PLA. There are also rumors that both international and domestic flights to and from Beijing have been halted and that the city has been cut off from the rest of the world. More rumors claim nearly 60% of flights in China were grounded without any explanation on Friday. Gordon Chang, a Chinese author, also based in the US, replied to Zeng's tweet and wrote, "This video of military vehicles moving to #Beijing comes immediately after the grounding of 59% of the flights in the country and the jailings of senior officials. There's a lot of smoke, which means there is a fire somewhere inside the #CCP. #China is unstable." Among Indians, BJP Subramanian Swamy took to Twitter and wrote, "New rumor to be checked out, is Xi Jinping under house arrest in Beijing?" When she was in Samarkand recently, the leaders of the Chinese Communist Party were supposed to have removed Xi from the party's in charge of army. Then house arrest followed. So goes the rumor. For the last 2 years, there was no place like home for Chinese President Xi Jinping. He had not moved out of his home in Beijing and was not meeting any world leader, not even any prominent CCP leader. However, on September 14th, the tyrant leader finally moved out of his home for an SCO meeting in Samarkand, Uzbekistan. After a hiatus of 2 years, she departed for Central Asia by a special flight and attended the 22nd summit of the Council of Heads of State of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, SCO. But, despite being the founding member of SCO, the Chinese leader did not actively participate in the summit. He didn't give any memorable speech at the inauguration of the summit, nor did he meet Vladimir Putin, Narendra Modi, or any other major leader of the group on the sidelines of the summit. Furthermore, he didn't have an informal dinner with his bonami Putin due to COVID-19 concerns. It was later discovered that Xi had troubled left for Beijing before the official winding up of the SCO summit. Maybe he was worried and afraid about something huge and sinister. Now, the reports coming out of Beijing could rock the world. Global media has no idea what is going on with Xi Jinping at his home. Honestly, at this point those who want the tyrant to remain in power should forget about his 3rd term. It appears that CCP veterans have already crushed his lust for power. Chinese netizens have stormed social media timelines with reports that Beijing is under military seizure. The world, though, has no idea of what's happening because the city is eventually cut off from the world. According to News Highland Vision, former Chinese President Hu Jintao and former Chinese Premier Wen Jiabao had persuaded Song Ping, the former member of the Standing Committee and retaking control of the Central Guard Bureau, CGB. For those who don't know, the purpose of CGB is to provide close personnel protection to members of the Politburo Standing Committee and other CCP leaders. The committee is also responsible for the protection of Xi Jinping. As Hu and Wen retook control of CGB, information was conveyed to Jiang Zeng and the Central Committee members in Beijing via telephone. The original Standing Committee members abolished Xi's military authority at that very moment. Xi returned to Beijing on the evening of September 16th after learning the truth. However, Xi Jinping was detained at the airport and most probably is currently being held under house arrest in Zhang Nanhai's house. The current situation is being controlled by Hu Jintao. If the reports are believed to be true, this is one of the biggest happenings in China after the Chinese virus outbreak in 2019. For the last 10 days, political meetings are taking place behind the closed doors and in utter secrecy. Here is the comprehensive information of those last 10 days. On September 8th, the reform meeting of the finalizing committee was chaired by two vice chairmen. The chairman of the operations, who was a loyalist to Xi, was removed from the meeting. Commander Li Qiaoming sat in the middle of the first row under the stage to participate in the meeting. Li Qiaoming, a general of PLA, had already made his mind that he would no longer accept the diktats of the Chinese president. Now as Xi was out in Samarkand, when met Song Ping and persuaded him to turn rogue against Xi Jinping, who was about to go for his third term in power. Ping agreed to do so, and then Xi was detained by his own CGB guards. The former CCP leaders foresaw that Xi Jinping's loyalists would undoubtedly use aggression to topple Xi Jinping house arrest. Here, Li Qiaoming entered the scene. Qiaoming now has turned Beijing into a military fort. A large 80 kilometers convoy entered Beijing and closed all possible exits of the city. According to the source, the PLA is blocking highways and is currently said to be detaining protesters. As the political unrest in Beijing was made known to Russian intelligence, Russian energy giant Gazprom momentarily halted gas flow through the Power of Siberia pipeline that sent Russian gas to China. Though Russia justified the cut as scheduled maintenance work, one can predict clearly that it was done to support Xi Jinping by making the protests uglier. Moreover, the netizens on social media have reported that over the last 2 days, Beijing Airport canceled more than 6,000 domestic flights and international flights. Also, all tickets sold by the high-speed rail are suspended, and the rail is completely put out of function until further notice. Hours later, Chinese civil aviation notified airlines with Boeing MAX aircraft to resume their service. Now, let's look at what happened yesterday. National defense was discussed at a military commission meeting yesterday. What remarkable here is the presence of Shenyang Kong in that meeting, who was fired by Xi Jinping. Li Qiaoming was again seated in the middle of the front row. The current first elder of the CCP, Song Ping, who is 105 years old, made a prominent appearance at another meeting at Zhaoping Memory Hall and voiced his anti-Xi attitude. Ping demanded that the country undergo changes and opens up. According to him, the CCP should give this the highest priority for the sake of the nation. Almost every known CCP leader was present at the Memory Hall except for two, Xi Jinping himself and Foreign Minister Wang Yi. The most suspicious event recently is Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi's sudden visit to New York. He met with Henry Kissinger. On September 21st, when Song Ping was irking against Xi Jinping, Wang Yi met with the former U.S. Secretary of State. Here, Mr. Wang planned a surprise visit and congratulated Dr. Kissinger on his upcoming 100th birthday, calling him an old and good friend of the Chinese people. Kissinger is close to veteran CCP members, and he made historic contributions to the establishment and development of China-United States relations. Doesn't this sudden meeting raise questions about the real purpose behind it? Though, nothing is coming out in open, and no such discussions are available on Weibo. However, based on Xi's behavior over the past 2 years, it appears likely that Xi has always had an idea that CCP veterans are against him. The veterans had been urging Xi to modify his strict demeanor. But Xi's hunger for power was unquestionably standing in the way. If these reports are accurate, we can say that Xi's tenure has come to a dead end. When this happens, Hu Jintao deserves all the credit for making this possible. China's communist regime under President Xi Jinping has suppressed and abused thousands of people, including rights defenders and government critics, arbitrarily and repeatedly with house arrests by exploiting a draconian criminal law, says a rights watchdog. Madrid-based Safeguard Defenders released a 46-page report titled Home Becomes Prison, China's Expanding Use of House Arrests Under Xi Jinping on September 6. The report, based on testimonies of the victims, accused Beijing of misusing the criminal procedure law and violating human rights by crushing dissent with house arrests and other forms of abuses. The report highlighted the state's rampant use of house arrest, officially dubbed residential surveillance, RS, with the help of legal loopholes to simply bar communication and isolate victims within their homes. The victims' ID cards and passports were seized, bank accounts frozen, phone calls tapped, internet activity monitored, and meeting with family or lawyers blocked by the police and government officials, the report said. Using official government data, Safeguard Defenders has highlighted a meteoric increase in residential surveillance from only 5,549 cases in the first year of President Xi Jinping's rule in 2013 to 28,704, 417% in the second year. The use of lawful house arrests since Xi Jinping came to power will almost certainly cross the 1 million mark soon, the group said. Residential surveillance has gone hand in hand with continued revision to law to allow for its greater use. Until the COVID-19 pandemic, the data showed a consistent increase of 5% year on year. However, compared to the 35,509 cases registered in 2019, there was a sharp 13% increase to 40,184 cases in 2020. Residential surveillance was introduced into the Chinese Criminal Procedure Law, CPL, in 1979 and has been implemented on a large scale to muzzle dissent and criticism. House arrest is used to detain an individual who is under investigation, awaiting criminal proceedings, or identified as a threat to national security under the CPL. The CPL allows the restriction and monitoring of detainees' communications. It also gives police powers to block their access to their lawyers and render them isolated from friends and family, the report states. While the official procedure requires the public authorities to issue a formal notice to inform the person or their family that the case has been put under arrest, there have been several instances where cases were placed under arrest without any notice, the report read. While the report does not directly mention using house arrests against ethnic and religious groups, there have been numerous media reports on Chinese authorities' crackdown on ethnic and religious groups for allegedly violating laws. Catholic clergy, including bishops as well as Protestant pastors, have been detained and placed in house arrests in undisclosed locations for months. Despite the legal time limit of 6 months for residential surveillance, (RS), the accused activists are subjected to prolonged detention. Wang Quanzhang, a human rights lawyer and a victim of the CPL, said he was not allowed to return to his home in Beijing to reunite with his family even after his release from prison on April 5, 2020. They used the pretext of the epidemic as an excuse to quarantine him for 14 days when he should have been able to return to his home in Beijing according to the relevant legal guidelines, said Li Wenzu, wife of Wang Quanzhang. While access to justice and legal assistance is already restricted under official RS, those who are put under it illegally face an even higher level of surveillance and isolation. The victims are typically charged with picking quarrels and provoking trouble or inciting subversion of state power. Activist Xi Jinping and her husband Cheng Yuan, co-founder of Changsha Funding, an NGO advocating for the rights of people with disabilities and other marginalized groups, were both taken by the Zhangjiakou City State Security Bureau for subversion of state power. The activists faced threats and harassment from the police officials and were told that they had touched politics, so don't talk about the law now. The report also stated that some of the victims faced consistent surveillance and were followed by police officials at all locations and were accompanied at all times. They follow me like a shadow, on the phone, when I am out, at my daughter's nursery, in the garage. They can appear at any time. I was in a state of panic, said Xi Jinping. The speculation about Xi Jinping's house arrest comes after China sentenced 2 former ministers to death earlier this week. The 2 ministers and 4 other officials, who were sentenced to life, are reportedly part of a political faction. The spate of high-profile sentences are a part of China's anti-corruption campaign ahead of a political meeting next month where President Xi Jinping is expected to secure an unprecedented 3rd term. There is no concrete evidence regarding the claims made by people on the social media outlets, and rather is the Republic of China strongly refuting the allegations. We are on a standstill about what is next for China and its political strife. What do you think about these claims, and how does it affect the world balance? China is a major world power, and issues like this have to be handled with care to avoid certain complications. Let us know what you think about this in the comment section. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Thanks for watching.